This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs is brought to you by Francis, one of our patrons, who sponsored this month on 3D platformers. If you would like to be a patron, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You can sponsor episodes, you can get bonus episodes, you get all kinds of cool stuff. Also, come to Duckfest, August 31st. Tickets available soon. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about A Hat in Time, which is a 3D platformer developed and published by Gears for Breakfast for the PC, PS4, and Xbox One in 2017.
Yeah. And this is the beginning of 3D Platformer Month.
The final theme month that we are doing. This one is sponsored by Francis Adrian. Thank you, Francis, who chose this game, but also chose this theme for the month.
Mm-hmm. Which is a good theme for us because it's not a genre we spent a lot of time in.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've never done something like this, which is like a classic. Like we're the month similar to Puzzle Month. Like I think we're hitting interesting beats along the lines of the genre. So like this is attempting to kind of be an example of the Nintendo 64 Rare era.
Yes.
A 3D platformer. And then we have Psychonauts, which has no real interest in being a 3D platformer and yet does it anyway.
Yep.
And just is more interested in everything else it's doing.
Yeah.
And then we have Mirror's Edge, which is like a creative take.
Yes.
On the 3D platformer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then if you couple this with, Mario Galaxy, which is a more modern kind of take on it, we've kind of covered the genre.
Just a bit.
Yeah. And since I will never touch the hated Banjo Kazooie, it's good that we did this one.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that bear, and I hate his dumb backpack.
Yep. And guess what's inside? A bird that I hate even more.
Yeah, they're just like, look at this Kinder Egg of misery that I wear on my back. Look at this Russian nesting doll of rusting nesting fowl.
Yes.
Of foulness. Yeah, so we're doing A Hat in Time, which is a game that I was on my radar. I'd heard about it primarily in positive comparison to Yooka-Laylee, which people feel like really missed the mark. Like we were, there's a nostalgia for these games.
Yes.
They kind of flared up all around the same time. And this is the one that Francis suggested. And I'm glad that they did. I think it's okay. It's okay. Let's get into its okayness. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, my thesis for the opening of this is that never before have I felt so strongly where I can see the appeal but not feel it. Like I look at everything on the screen and everything that I do, and I say, "This is exactly somebody's shit." Normally, I've been able to put on that hat and go along for the ride and borrow that feeling. Not so much with this. Not to cast a pall over the proceedings.
No. I mean, it's worth we haven't really talked about it very much.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Before we record, but yeah, like I think that I came away from it feeling more like different extremes. So like during portions of it, I totally bought in and saw the appeal.
Yeah.
Like there are things where I was like, this is cool. This is pretty good. And then there would be parts that I just like really didn't like.
Yeah.
Like there are things I think are just straight up like kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are it's a little bit, to me, it's a little bit of a confused product.
Yeah.
And that kind of bears out. This is getting way ahead, but we'll talk about this more. Like when I read like reviews, I read people's thoughts about this. It's got like a Metacritic, and I know Metacritic is horseshit before anybody asks me, but it's like, I think it's like 79.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like a C+ is really right for this.
Yeah.
But then when I looked at reviews, there's very few people giving it like a C+. There are people who really didn't like it, and then people who are like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is made for me. Like, put this in my fucking veins. And it's kind of both of those things. And that was a little bit like my experience playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just kind of depends on what I feel like thinking about.
Yeah. And
You know?
and we should probably give, a little bit of a background on this, because we joke about Banjo Kazooie. I think that neither you nor I have a tremendous amount of affection for this genre.
Yeah.
Just in general, for me, like the big examples of the genre that I liked were Mario 64, because it was sui generis at the time. It was, a Mario game, and it was 3D. That hit the right few notes, and then nothing, Psychonauts, and then nothing, Mario Galaxy.
Yeah. Same. Like, I think the first half of Mario 64 is a really good game, and I think the second half, when it becomes about precision, I don't think is a good game.
No,
and then so I didn't play these when they were contemporaneous because of that. Like, I played the beginning of Mario 64 a bunch of times, and then would always just get frustrated right around the desert and not want to play it. Then played Psychonauts, played through it, but the whole time was like, man, like the why are these bosses hard and these levels frustrating? Like, give me the fucking jokes. Yeah. And then Mario Galaxy came out, and I was reluctant to try it because I haven't liked 3D Marios. I didn't play Sunshine until later, right? Which is a game I don't care for very much. But and then I ended up, Mario Galaxy unlocked it for me by making two things that are extant in this game, one thing that's extant in this game, which is variety. Yeah. Like, I didn't really realize until A Hat in Time the way that 3D platformers as a genre, like, the amount of time you do 3D platforming is not a constant. Right. Like, that is the genre, but they are about goofy situations and weird gimmicks, like, a lot of the time. And that was true even of way back in Mario 64 with, like, penguin races and and stuff. And it's true in Mario Galaxy, where, like, the joy of Mario Galaxy and all the 3D Mario games that came after that are these bite-sized levels that express one gameplay idea really well.
Yes.
And I feel like A Hat in Time does that for maybe the first 2/3 or so, except it doesn't do them as well, but it gets the variety. And then the last third of it is just tough platforming, and the story all of a sudden getting serious and weird. Yeah. To me, like I did you understand the Get Lost?
No.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's very weird. Like, was that a callback to something? Like, I have no idea. We'll get to what, if people don't know what that is. Like, it's a weird refrain repeated during the end boss fight. Yeah. And I don't get it. Like, I was just like, what is this? Yeah. So the first 2/3, I think, land that variety and kind of exploration of a gameplay idea pretty well.
Yeah. When I interrogate my feelings about this, what I would normally go to is, oh, this is a generational thing. However, like, Mario 64 came out when I was 9, and Banjo Kazooie came out when I was 11. If
You're definitely the generation for it.
Yeah.
For sure.
If there was anybody for whom that would be in the pocket, it would probably be me, right? It just never hit. My attention was elsewhere. So I feel a little bit alienated when I see so much enthusiasm for this genre, right? And then I could probably just, say, oh yeah, this is Europe. Like, this is Great Britain. Like, they're all about this shit. Yeah. I don't know.
It's Americans too. Yeah. It's a thing. Like, I know a lot of people who just have this immense thing for it. And for me, like, I think where I've landed on it and where A Hat in Time kind of taught me where I land on it is that, like, when it's the apotheosis of the genre, right? Like, when it is the best possible version of it, I can get some joy out of it. And it's never my favorite thing in the world. Like, I liked Mario Odyssey, but I didn't go apeshit for it. Like, I had fun playing it. And then I was like, oh, I'll put that down and never touch it again. That's great. I had fun. And that's kind of where I top out at. Yeah. And then if because of experience or budget concerns, or if anything makes it not quite get there, it can kind of top out as okay. Yeah, yeah. And that's where this tops out, because I think these people knew how to make these games.
They obviously love them.
they loved it. Tons of enthusiasm, lots of craft that went into this.
Yeah.
There is like a kind of structural and kind of pacing amateurness to this.
Yeah.
That is very weird to me. And it makes me think of Budget, even though it was a very successful Kickstarter, which we'll talk about. But I don't, who knows? Like, it's not worth like Monday morning quarterbacking as to why it does that. But there is a weird structure where it is a lighthearted goof 'em up with a wide variety of situations for part of it. And then becomes like, hey, let's take this this platforming engine that is maybe not like the strongest thing in the world and really put it through its paces.
Yeah.
That kind of lost me.
When I was doing my summary of the genre, or at least my experience of the genre, I skipped over a whole kind of forgotten chapter in this. And it's at the end, probably because they were on weirdo systems, but Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World are the bee's knees. Those are amazing.
Yeah, those are great. Yeah, the Cat Mario is my favorite Mario game. Yeah. Like that and Mario World are my two favorites, and depending on which day. But like, I think that game is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to make sure I get proper shift to the genre because I feel like it landed in a good place, and I don't know that we're ever going to see that again.
Yeah. Like those are super, super good. Yeah. Excuse my Frankenstein out the window if you can hear the Frankenstein.
I can, I wasn't sure if it was Pocket playing with his murder box.
No, I put away the murder box. It's just the Frankenstein now. Welcome to Duckfeed, where every thing is an incomprehensible nonsense phrase that you'll never understand as we get weirder and more insular as the years go on instead of expanding our reach. So, it's not the murder box. It's the Frankenstein. The Pocket, totally just a noun, is playing with. So, anywho. So in this game, you play as a young girl named Hat Kid who's trying to collect time. There's very little time anything in this game.
Yeah.
Really some time travel or time anything.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just time pieces.
Yeah. I was expecting some Prince of Persia kind of stuff going on with this. There's one hat. There's one hat that you can get that lets you stop time for a little bit. But
but time pieces, which they function as stars like in Mario. These are hourglasses that fuel her spaceship.
Yes. And as we mentioned, this is, consciously developed to be this homage to classic 3D platformers like Super Mario 64, Banjo Kazooie, Psychonauts is referenced as well. Spyro, basically anything of that, late 90s edging into the early 2000s kind of era, of hop and bop collect 'em ups.
Yeah, man, Spyro. Yeah, about Spyro. And what we mean by that is like you are in kind of an openish kind of level. They'll reuse the same level, but there'll be different situations depending on your objective. So like if you go in trying to do this thing, maybe it's that level at night. If you go in trying to do this thing, maybe you start in this section of the level and this other part's walled off. Yeah. And you're trying to achieve those specific objectives that end with a hourglass, and along the way, you're getting collectibles that are both collectibles in the purest sense of the word, like they're just things to get. They either provide cosmetic rewards or nothing. Yeah. Or they are work their way towards upgrades.
Yes. Yeah. They're the components of progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Hat Kid, she's a little girl, kind of dressed up like a magician, starts off with a top hat. She has a few basic abilities, default abilities. It ends up being pretty versatile, even without the extra hats. Her basic melee attack is an umbrella.
Well, real quick, just because this is a minor bugbear of mine, you don't get the umbrella until partway through the first level. Yeah. Until then, you have a melee punch that doesn't do anything except for put you in a million-year-long stun animation.
Oh, yeah.
And that drives me nuts. Like, I was trying to, like, the very first level, and this, I won't repeat this anecdote when we get to it. I got down, I was like, oh, cool, open stuff. I'm going to go explore instead of go do the trail that it wants me to do. Yeah. Ran into some enemies, punched them. I just kept holding my fist and doing this like 1,000-year-long 3 hops in a row that you do when you hold your fist, while the enemy would just body me. And then I would be like, why can't I fucking melee attack? Why aren't you what is going on? There's like a teaching failure there, and there's no reason for her not to start with the umbrella. Right. But you don't start with it. It's not a default attack, and that drove me a little like mildly nuts in the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. Mild nuts, baby nuts.
Yeah. And the umbrella is pretty good. Has decent-ish range. It gets most useful when you do a Mario Odyssey style homing strike by attacking in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can jump and then kind of, and you have a double jump as well. You can jump up, and then if you're above an enemy, sometimes you get a prompt that is too brief to actually respond to.
Yeah.
It's just so you know that you can do this homing attack where you kind of jump on an enemy and bounce off.
It's less like Mario. Like Sonic has been doing that for a while in 3D games.
Sonic's a good.
Is the double tap to homing attack.
Yeah. Yep. As we mentioned, double jump. You have an air dash, as well. You have a tiny little wall climb that you can do. You have a mantle. You can jump off of a wall. One of these things where the controls just kind of drive me a little bit nuts. Again, I'm going to keep saying nuts. Is that when you jump on a wall, no matter what direction you're pressing, you jump away from the wall.
Yeah.
So when the platforming gets tough, this is very frustrating. Like you can't be on a wall, hold towards the wall and jump.
Yeah.
And then jump towards the wall. You always jump in kind of a perfect arc away from it. And if you've already used your double jump for that air time, you cannot jump back towards the wall.
Right.
Which means falling into a pit if you're in chapter 4.
Right. And that's falling off of a mountain.
That's that's a bummer. And most games I think that have that kind of jump off a wall, it is directional.
Right.
Like throwing a Maximo style, or like a Ghouls and Ghosts style directional jump. In the middle of this is weird to me.
Yeah. It's definitely a choice to make it predictable, I think.
Yeah.
But it didn't land particularly well for me. What I don't want to do is be like the people who, when we played The Witcher 3, said, I can't control that game. I can't even get Geralt through a door.
Yeah.
That is not my intention. Things ended up feeling pretty loose for me in the controls, both with and without the assistance on. I felt like I was missing jumps that I ought to make. And additionally, the camera ended up being something I fought against quite a bit.
Yeah, the camera is not great in this game. It's okay.
Even though
it's not good though.
Even like the basic, I was hoping that the basic angle would be pulled out a little bit more. Oftentimes, the camera would be basically down parallel to the floor, right in close to Hat Girl.
Well, and did you notice you can't look up or down with the camera?
Right.
Like it swings on a horizontal axis, which means that like if you want to look up to do something or aim at something, you cannot.
Right.
Which is another frustration with the camera.
Yeah. So I don't want that to come across as being nitpicky. However, it did end up being a real drag on my experience, even if I was able to surmount it and do some of the kind of cool, satisfying in the moment gymnastics that the game asks you to do later on. The double jump, I think especially it feels very good. Especially when they've got like trick jumps where you have to jump below a piece of fence. Yeah, those are fun. Yeah, those are fun.
I think the difference between this and the I can't get Geralt through a door thing is that like there are very specific things that are choices that I feel like we can point to. Yeah. Right. So like that jumping away from a wall thing is a choice. One of the things that would happen a lot, and here, we'll talk about the upgrade system, which plays into this in a way that's not wonderful, is that if you dash into a wall, you're done.
Yeah.
You bonk against it. So getting up to a high ledge that is far away, there's a specific order of operations of like jump, dash, jump, hit just below the ledge, use your little climb. Don't do any wall jumps. Like, even though that might be your instinct, and video games have taught you to do that, to like climb up something, but don't do that. Yeah. And that ends up being the order of operations. If you get that order of operations wrong, you hit the wall and go into like a stun state. Yeah. So like you will, if you jump, double jump, dash, hit the wall, you will not grab onto it. You'll bonk off of it unless you equip a badge. Like the way that badges are used in this to like do things that should be just your basic tools. Like the dash button is a hat in this, like being able to sprint. Like a lot of things that you should just be able to do are upgrades that you have to make choices as to which upgrade you want to have on. Yeah. Which is really weird to me. Like it didn't ruin it for me, but it to me, again, just that points the difference between that and the can't get Geralt through a door is because they're just very specific things. It's not like, oh, this just doesn't make sense in my hands, and if I sit with it for 20 minutes, it will make sense. Yeah. Like I'm king of old, weird computer games that have Byzantine control schemes. Like, I can play Doom with a keyboard, like I can do that kind of thing. It's not that. It's once you know how to do it, there are just these little bits of fiddliness that not only do I think they're kind of non-optimal in a lot of cases, but they're not very much like how these games usually run.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's the thing. Usually after about an hour, even with something that that is a little bit Byzantine, the controller kind of disappears. There was enough.
Yes.
There was just kind of a low level pattern of uncertainty or friction that stopped that from happening. And generally I don't like to think about what I have to do button press by button press. It just kind of happens because I've internalized it.
Yeah.
And I spent 11, 12 hours with the game, Yeah.
I never felt like I was the character.
Yeah.
Like embodying it. I always felt that remove. So you have 4 hit points in the game. There are these things called pawns in the game. I think everything is a pawn, even the money is pawns, but there are heart pawns specifically, which will heal you. These are kind of scattered throughout. You will take damage, sometimes through combat, but mostly through failed platforming. So the pawns are there to give you a couple of additional chances on that. And then there's the hat system, which is the big upgrade. We will talk about the specific hats as we run into them. The 2 generalities, I want to mention is like, one, some of the abilities that you get for hats do feel like things they should not be upgrades.
Yeah.
Like that you shouldn't have to have a hat to dash. I think that's silly. I know it's the first one you get, or the non-default one, but I just think that like running a little bit faster is a video game thing.
Yeah.
Adds an inventory tax to switch back and forth. And then you have a default one that highlights your objective for you, which again, I don't want to go into a menu to do that.
Yeah.
Like that feels very counterintuitive to me. Like that's, why is that a function of inventory and not a button on the controller?
Yeah.
Or a thing that comes up when I press start.
Yeah. Or press up on the D-pad or something like that. Like
any number of things.
Yeah. So any number of any number of those things, I do like that they give you the hat that will highlight objectives for you, because hunting for things is always frustrating for me in this. I like figuring out how to get to a place. I don't like being, all right, I've picked up 19 of the 20 things. Where do I need to go?
Yeah. It's a good move. It's just weird that it's an inventory thing. Yeah. And I know about the quick look. Or the quick switch that you can do. It's just like
you're still cycling through a bunch of them.
You're still cycling. Like it's still just like a tiny friction for something that I feel like should just be included in the avatar.
Yeah.
The way you get new hats is by finding yarn. The yarn is specific to hat type, but when you already have that hat type, you get yarn anyway.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually I didn't understand this, which could be totally my fault. But did you understand what was going on with that? Like most of the time I picked up yarn, it would say you already have this hat, but we're going to give you yarn anyway, which is a kindness. I'm glad it's not wasted. Like I got a collectible for an upgrade I already had.
Yeah.
But why differentiate them if they're all just going to be universal?
It feels like a way to get around the problem of, you need to gate when you can get which hats, So like, you can't make the dash hat until you, that's a bad example. It's the first one.
Yeah. You can't make the time stop hat until you make the ice hat.
Right. Or until you find the first piece of time stop yarn, right?
Yeah. So you just need that first one.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how that is any different or better than like going in and finding like a pattern for that hat.
Yeah, pattern. Or I was just thinking, if you just had them, there's a limited amount of yarn in every level, and they just cost different amounts.
Yeah,
and that's the gate, because it does give you kind of the illusion that it's like a semi-linear game. Like you have to complete more of it than I thought you would have to complete.
Yeah.
So the idea of saying like, okay, I need hat 4 to experience world 3. So it'd be bad to make it so I had to scour worlds 1 and 2 for that hat stuff. Is you kind of have to scour them anyway. It's just whether you do it now or whether you do it at the end to grind up enough timepieces to get to the end sequence.
Yeah.
It's not like just going through the levels is not enough to give you the end of this.
Right.
Again, mild frustration, but it's lots of mild frustrations that kind of stack up. Like that's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
But it's a mildly annoying deal. And I think the first yarn, after the first yarn, I always was collecting yarn for things that like I almost always had.
Yeah.
But I just didn't really get it. what they were going for with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, because you're going through the game linearly and each world gives you a new hat, roughly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never ran into a new kind of yarn before I got enough to make the, you know, the most recent hat, right? Or the one I was working on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe that was just a result of me playing through the game in a different order or in a more, you know, prescribed order. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just confusing. Confusing. The other thing you can do with these hats is you can put badges on, these little button pins, which will give you perks or downgrades. And you buy these from a top tier NPC in this game, the Glitchy Merchant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's real spooky and flickering in and out of existence and stuff.
Yeah. One of the things I do like about the game is that it is slightly in places darker than you might expect.
Yeah.
You know, and a little bit more like less kiddie.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things that has always been a big turnoff of Banjo Kazooie is that like it presents as kiddie and then it's supposed to be kind of not kiddie because sometimes they use British slang for dick.
Yeah.
And then it wraps around like, actually, no, this is kitty again. Yeah. You know, this is just a different kind of kitty to me. Like this, it doesn't always feel that way. And the merchant like does that. The badges have the same problem. I think that the hats do where like a lot of the times there are things I think should be default.
Yeah.
It is absolutely gobsmacking to me that the grappling hook is a badge.
Yeah.
In this, because that's a basic verb that you need to traverse the second half of the game, and having to do that inventory management or having to give up something, you know, that is like negating fall damage, like give up an advantage in order to get a basic verb is like bad Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Like something that they should always do both. And if you're going to make me do an opportunity cost, they have to be interesting, like Hollow Knight's like badge system, where, you know, very rarely were those things that actually helped you traverse. The things that were traversal tools were just abilities you got. Like, oh, I got the double jump. Oh, I got the crystal dash or what have you.
Yeah.
And you just have those. Like, they're just part of your avatar. You don't have to go into an inventory to fuck around with them. You know?
Yeah. Like, grappling shouldn't be a loadout. Like that.
Yeah.
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 One thing I do like about these is that you can get the downgrades. Like, if I was somebody, you know, again, seeing the appeal without feeling the appeal, if I was somebody who liked the challenge of these things, getting the one-hit badge would be, you know, a good way to self-impose that mechanically through the thing. Additionally, like, oh, here's a badge that gets rid of the voice acting and just makes it mumbles like Banjo Kazooie. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, that is a good idea.
The DLCs introduce even more fun ones.
Yeah.
Like the DLC, there's one that turns it, makes it look like a Nintendo 64 game. Like changes the poly count, and that's great looking. Like it's really, really neat looking.
Yeah.
There's one that gives it a Game Boy filter, and then there's a Virtual Boy filter as well.
Nice.
That goes over things, and they look cool. Like I didn't play the DLCs, but I looked them up online. And I think those are neat.
Yeah.
So there are cool badges. I just feel like there are things that should have just been like other than the umbrella, Hat Kid is bereft of avatar upgrades. They're all loadouts. And that's something I would not have done if I were them. You buy badges with coins with the pawns. You can also buy pins so you can equip more badges. The other big collectible in the game are relics, which are bits of things you find that are combined to create these trophies in your hub world. And getting those, these will open up on their own as well, but that opens up more of these time rift bonus stages.
Yeah.
That kind of take place in like a void.
It's like VR missions.
VR missions.
Almost.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
Some of those are pretty fun. I think that's how that's how I got I was able to unlock the ending without actually finishing all the worlds.
Me too. Like I did the VR missions rather than go back and
but those are good. And again, there's a lot of cuteness in this game. Those relics are fun. Like you put together a hamburger, and Hat Kid's best guess is this gigantic hamburger is a seat, like to sit on, like a stool, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's probably good because I feel like we've been kicking tons of shade. Like maybe a time to talk about like aesthetics and that stuff, because I think this game is undeniably crazy cute.
Yes.
And cute in a way that is not cloying at all. Like I like Hat Kid a lot as a character. I think that the tone of like the writing in this game is actually like her attitude is what makes it. Like some of the characters you run into wear thin on me.
Mm-hmm.
But her attitude towards it is just like infectious and great. And there's like a moment at the end that is like just big smiles, like no laugh out loud moments in this game, but big smiles, like ear to ear smile thing at the end, of the credits. Like she's a great character. And they did a really good job making a mascot, because mascots are fucking hard.
Yep.
Mascot style characters, they tend to be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I just contrast this with the idiot bear and his horrible backpack. Like this is just like way cuter and better.
Yeah.
Than that, like it is just she's just very sweet.
Yeah,
like it's very funny and kind of spicy and great.
Yeah,
like
it helps that the character you play as doesn't speak. She just reacts to
she says like 4 words. Like there's just like every once in a while she'll just, and they're all like little like meeps.
Yeah.
Like she'll just say like little things like that, and it's super good.
Yeah, but like her reactions and stuff are super cute. Like she'll like blow raspberries at people who annoy her. Like when all of her fuel is spilled over this planet, like her reaction is to like cross her arms and stomp her foot like in disgust. Like, yeah. Incredibly good. And when you explore the ship, the way that you unlock different chapters, different areas, is by getting enough timepieces to power on the doors. Like you go to her kitchen and to her bedroom, which has a bed, but also just has a gigantic pile of pillows and stuff.
Yeah, that operates like swimming.
Yep.
Like has a diving board. It's very cute. Like the great character. What an interesting thing about that is, because I think the hub world has so much like personality in this.
Yeah.
That was a stretch goal.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I guess it would have just been items off a menu, or you would have just done them in order. But having a hub world you go back to was a stretch goal, and it's hard for me to imagine the game without it.
Right.
Because it powers so much other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, other parts of the aesthetic as well. I think the music in this game is really good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Like certainly like above average. The character design in general, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah. Like
even characters whose voices like became annoying to me, I think look good.
Yeah.
It's aesthetically really pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think it evokes like a fun kidness without feeling like a kid game.
Yeah.
Which like a lot of things that ape this kind of thing do to me. Like Ukulele just looked like a baby game to me.
Yeah, because everything was just, plastered with googly eyes.
Yeah, everything has a googly eye. This doesn't look like that. This is a little bit more deftness in its art direction.
And again, just like the right amount of dark. Like one of the antagonists of one of the levels here, like takes your soul at the beginning of the level. And it's like you're filled with a sense of profound emptiness. And then at the end, when you get your soul back, it says, that void is, just like you've got your soul back, and now you're filled with just the usual amount of emptiness.
Yeah, which is like a genuinely funny joke.
That's a good
joke.
I
didn't laugh, but I was like, oh, smile.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cute.
Lots of smiles in this game.
Yeah, lots of smiles and as far as like what's going on. Until chapter 4, which is the longest chapter in the game and is bereft of narrative content.
Yep. And
requires so much backtracking as to you pull out my hair. So yeah. So it is very, very cute though. Yeah. As we mentioned, the hub kind of gets across this personality. You're going to be going here between levels. The theme of this, so it's very cute. The actual, like what it's trying to get across as far as any kind of messaging. Boy, I don't know.
It's very confused.
Yeah.
And even down to like the individual themes of the different chapters or worlds, like I was very unclear, like, okay, what kind of place is this?
Yeah.
Like, and it doesn't have to be as prosaic as like, oh, this is lava world and this is ice world, but like, that's a start. The opening stage of this, the Mafia town, like it goes through a whole bunch of different kind of modes. And it's like, what are you? Are you fish or fowl?
Yeah. There's definitely a little bit of that going on. And it doesn't help that Mafia World is the least interesting.
Yeah.
And
they lead with it. Yeah.
At least to me. And it's the first one. Like it is going for a Green Hill Zone kind of thing, but it's definitely feels a little like lol random.
Yeah.
To it. And then the next level, which is like vaguely themed around making movies though. And I'm like, okay, like that's pretty classic. And then it's Jack Skellington's house.
Yeah.
And then the fourth stage, from which we will never speak of again. We will.
It'd be really hard to do the episode without that.
I know. I just really hated it. But yeah, it is hard to tell what's going on in most of the levels. And as far as what this is trying to get across, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's trying to get across anything until the end.
Right.
And then it really feels like it's trying to get something across.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can pull from it is like this vague kind of feeling about like friendship.
Yeah.
Early on, and a kind of a classic like Labyrinth-esque. Here are all these weirdos that I've run into that are presented as antagonists, but they're actually good. They're just strange.
Yeah.
That comes through at the end, and then the game rejects that, which I like.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing about like what defines what is good or bad.
Yeah. That
doesn't land at all. So it's fucking weird. And yeah, so it's hard to get that across.
Yeah.
There are boss fights in this game. There are the right amount.
Yes.
Of them, the right number, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to be pretty fun.
Yep.
There's a couple choices in them I don't like, and I think they go on a little bit longer, but they actually do a genius thing that I'm adding to my stable of ways that I wish that Sekiro had changed difficulty. Like, just because I had never seen this before, and I was reading about it, is that once you've beaten a phase of a boss fight, it doesn't checkpoint past it. It just makes it go quicker.
Yep.
So like once you've done the first phase of like the Snatcher in this, and you've proven you can do it, you always do that phase, but they just give him way less health on that phase.
Yeah.
And that's pretty genius. Like I didn't notice it in the game. You know, I just thought, oh, maybe I'm doing this more efficiently, but it just makes those things go by way shorter without breaking the fiction. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that's clever.
That is like, a really good idea.
Yeah, that's elegant. You know, I like that a lot. And that's one of my favorite things that the game does. Like, I think it's just really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be curious if anybody else did that or if this is a Hat in Time original.
Yeah. If so, kudos. Like, if so, that justifies the existence of this, I think. Because that idea solves a lot of problems, I think, with big multi-phase boss fights. The bosses are really interesting because they're mostly based on defense. And you don't have the strongest defensive vocabulary, but they actually do a really great job of telegraphing almost everything. Like, the bosses almost invariably feel super fair in this. And I think they're generally really good. Stronger than the genre usually tends to be. Like, I don't think the boss fights in Mario 64 are any great shakes.
No, just good. I mean, kind of infamously. Yeah. So this game was a Kickstarter success. Was funded on Kickstarter in 2012. And kind of the inspiration, Jonas Karlev, I believe that's how that's pronounced, just said, there's just not really any 3D platformers around anymore, kind of blaming the death of the genre on Donkey Kong 64, which probably a good call. Yeah,
fair enough. Like that's one of the things for sure.
Yeah.
That's a very rough game.
So it's probably a little bit like blaming the death of adventure games on Gabriel Knight 3. But,
except for that Donkey Kong 64 is actually not very good. Unlike Gabriel Knight 3, which is not very good, but is, I think, I would argue is a better game.
Yeah.
Than that.
Ooh, controversial there, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Dropping hot takes.
Yeah.
So huge success. And they did a lot of stretch goals and things that are specifically meant to evoke those things. So that mumble voice badge is a stretch goal.
Yeah.
Having Grant Kirkhope, who was the composer for Banjo Kazooie, do tracks.
Yeah.
Was a stretch goal. Doing the hub world, which is a thing that the genre does a lot, was a stretch goal.
Yeah.
Things like that. They also ended up having some voice actors.
Hey, this is the part where we talk about JonTron being in the game. And this is Gary here in the edit. And Pocket's having a great time, so apologies for that. In order to not conflate his crimes, there's a part where I talk about how, this dude's just a gender essentialist transphobe. He's not a racist. And then I looked into him after the episode, and he's extremely racist. I just don't want anyone to think I'm letting this dumb fucker off the hook for anything. That guy sucks shit. And this podcast has no way an endorsement of the hated JonTron. That guy can go fuck himself.
And stuff. That are we're just people who are big fans of the genre, including the hated JonTron.
Yeah, the N-word gamer himself, Mr. Western Civilization.
Yeah, Mr. Western Civilization, who, nobody's ever accused us of this, but I think they probably could. I was on Everything to Guppy, and I was goofing and on something and brought up
Jordan Peterson and was talking about him being against consent. I don't think that's his specific flavor of monsterism. In my defense, like they all blend together. I don't know that like I don't know what JonTron does as far as that stuff, but I know he's a real like bio truther.
Yeah.
Like he's a real like, you know, I know that's a thing and he doubles down on.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that guy sucks ass.
Yeah,
and
also
by
he
no
hasn't.
means are we endorsing him.
he also hasn't really been around because he got banned from a bunch of places. So
Yeah. Like don't be a sexist, racist shithead.
Yeah.
And you get to keep participating in society.
Yeah.
And if you stop, like no one's gonna put you to death. You still have that freedom, but society can decide, hey, we don't want you.
Yeah.
That guy sucks ass, and we are not endorsing him in any way.
I was happy that he was just a minor part and wasn't actually the voice of a character that I liked.
Yeah. What if he was the voice of the hat? You know, like, just like, oh no, like, fuck this. You know, like.
So, there are 2 pieces of major DLC that have been released. Seal the Deal, which gives you kind of an ice world mission, and then Nyakuza Metro, which is kind of a, you know, Japanese city anime inspired thing. The latter of these allows for 50-player multiplayer.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, like that. Like they're taking advantage of just kind of a new thing that is built into Steam. It kind of seems like a we're doing it because we can kind of thing. And I appreciate and admire the audacity of that.
Man, this is a tangent, but last night I fell into a hole watching Super Mario Brothers Royale.
Oh yeah,
you know about that?
Oh, isn't it DMCA Royale now or something like that?
It is, yeah, it's something like I think they it still showed up in Google under Mario Royale, but like playing Mario 1 in a Royale mode like that is like was strangely compelling.
Yeah.
Like that's a good idea for a Royale, and I don't like Royales very much. But it feels as like game changing and cool as the Tetris one does to me. Basically, like I love that it turns the invincibility star into like an absolute nightmare. Like if you can be the first one to get it, you can destroy everybody. Everybody look that up if you haven't. The YouTubes will remain even after Nintendo destroys it. Yeah. But yeah, the plot of the Plaza one or the Metro one sounded interesting to me. She joins an all cat street gang, all girl cat street gang.
Nice.
To fight against the Yakuza, and I'm like, well, that sounds kind of fun to me.
Yeah.
Probably shan't, but it does sound like a cool idea.
Yeah.
So, and a Switch port is on the way. That this game like would play really great on Switch.
Yeah. Apparently, there was a bunch of drama around whether or not this would end up on the Wii U and then ultimately on the Switch. The community around this kind of, you know, just the things that pop up in Kickstarter comment sections.
It's a great comment section, man. It's the best. Get in on there. Yeah. It's rough stuff.
Yeah. So it just that colors when you read about this. Like apparently the port situation on this was really controversial. So no idea.
Yeah. And we're non-combatants in that.
Yes.
Like that's not for us. I played it just on PC.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it. So you start off this young girl. You're woken up by this obnoxious voice on the radio. And you're on a spaceship, and the whole thing and music and such is signaling space adventure to you. This is a good, fun time on a spaceship with a cute, plucky little magical girl.
Yeah, who happens to be entirely alone. I don't know. We never get a glimpse at what her planet is or what her deal is. Why she doesn't speak.
I actually love that though.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I was thinking about that I was expecting from this game was for it to turn maudlin, because the idea
she's the sole survivor, something.
Yeah. She's the whole idea like you need enough time cubes to get home or whatever, time hourglasses, but we don't learn about the home, and she doesn't seem to care. Like she's nonplussed by all this, and that's what makes me like the character is that like we don't get the sad moment with her where she's like looking at a family picture and trying to get home. It's all just like this, like, fuck the world, I got mine. Like she's got like a riot girl attitude to her that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Like put Hat Kid in Bikini Kill. Like that's what I want.
Yes.
Like I'm pretty into her. Like, no, I'm just having fun and I can do anything I want.
Yeah.
Attitude that kind of pervades her entire personality.
But she goes out to her vault, which is also her, her fuel tank. And then somebody from the space mafia, from the mafia on this planet, comes by to exact a toll. When we say mafia, this is not Italian mob like you would expect. This is
Russian mob.
Russian, Eastern European kind of
They
deal.
explicitly say Russia. They're from Russia.
Oh.
One of the people say from Russia.
Oh, cool.
So, which is weird.
Is this Earth?
Yeah.
Is there a Russia on every planet?
I don't know. And they're clone. They're all identical.
Yeah.
This is something that like seems like it should be funnier than it is to me, the whole time. Yeah. Like I said, I think that the first zone is maybe the weakest one. And even in terms of humor, like these guys didn't land for me, and I didn't think their voice acting was very fun or funny.
Right. And it is not sold that they're the mafia of cooks until the last part of it.
Yeah. They're a specific kind of mafia.
Yeah. Just like weird theming confusion or whatever. But he's coming by like, hey, I need to take a toll. She tries to send him away, but he breaks the window and the vacuum sucks her out onto the planet, taking all of her time fuel with her.
And we are into chapter 1. So we have chapters and acts.
Yes.
And finales. And the chapters are different planets. Chapter 1 is Mafia Town, and we get Act 1, Welcome to Mafia Town. We get these great like illustrated splash screens.
Yes.
That are really, really well done before every act. Like there's like really great cartoon images that made me want an animated series of this. And this first act, which kind of just teaches you a little bit how to play, like you can explore and get some collectibles, like go get some yarn and such. But as I mentioned, like it kind of discourages you from that because you don't have a weapon yet. When you land, a girl with a mustache and like a little Red Riding Hood runs from you when you land, and your goal is to chase her.
Yes. And she is talking to you, kind of taunting you, saying like, oh, if you're trying to find that junk that fell, I can take you there. And she ultimately leads us to a mafia man who has one of the hourglasses. And this is where you get the umbrella to kill him with.
Yes, to beat him within an inch of his life. Yeah. And then as he begs for life, put the umbrella in his mouth and open it. We kill the mafia man. And this gives us the hourglass. And in between, like this world is fairly detailed. There's not, in the stages I did from this, there wasn't tons of reason to explore it.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, it's interesting, like part of the genre, like if you're not driven by the, like, you see a coin, you have to go get the coin impulse, like these levels can be very short.
Yeah.
And then later they kind of fuck around with that pacing a little bit. But here, like, it's just interesting because at first I started exploring. I didn't have the umbrella. I couldn't really explore. That made me frustrated. I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just do what the game wants me to do.
Right.
And then did that, and they just go by very breezily.
Yeah.
In that respect. So.
Yeah. So Mustache Girl ends up, you think that she's going to be your ally, specifically because like she says, oh, we're friends. And then a friendship meter fills up.
Yeah. The interface stuff in this is very fun.
Yes.
Like when little interface things pop up, it's varied. They do new things up through the first 3 chapters, and it's super cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the first act, and the mission is set for us. These pieces of debris have fallen. We need to go get all of them. Taking us to Act 2, Barrel Battle, which is where you need to rescue Mustache Girl. She's been grabbed by a bunch of these mafiosos, and this is kind of a mini boss battle. Because they're standing atop this pyramid of explosive barrels and throwing them down at you. And
guys will kind of run around. You get locked into a 2.5D kind of ring around it.
Yeah.
When this happens, you can't run and come back. And there are a couple of different times where the game does this. It's always a little bit strange.
Yeah.
Mostly during boss fights.
Yeah. I'm generally down for it. I think it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Like this one's fine. It's probably the least memorable boss fight in the game. But it is just kind of teaching you about it. So she introduces herself to you. The friendship meter goes up, like as we mentioned. She joins you on the ship to help you in the mission. and she shows you her plan. Again, it does this interface, like it switches over to this heist
Yep.
kind of thing where she's like got a whiteboard and she's going to take all the mafia and kill them and put their guts and stuff in a jar.
Yeah,
and
which
she
she's
presents
going
that
to
as
sell.
reasonable, which she's going to sell. Very cute, and again, a little bit darker than maybe you'd expect.
Right.
Which is part of why this works. Like, it's not bloody or anything. Like, it's not John Wick, but it's very cute.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. But, you know, it is presented as reasonable, but it should tell you that she might be a little bit deranged.
Yeah.
Etc. Yeah. And I think she gives you your first piece of your first piece of yarn.
You can get yarn on the planet.
Yeah.
Before this, of course, but she says like you need to, you basically need to glow up. Like, let's get you a better hat.
Yes. Glow up, Gary.
Yeah, glow up. It's a thing.
Oh, okay.
I didn't come up with it. It's a thing.
All right.
Yeah, Google it.
Okay.
Worth Google. It probably probably don't need to Google it. You could imagine. So we get the yarn, and this gives us our first hat, which is the dash hat. Which I should be able to just run. But you have a dash hat. As we move on, we're going to get it's worth just talking about these now.
Yeah.
As you get tokens in the game, that's the collectible we didn't mention. That changes aesthetic, so the hats can look different but have the same function. Or you can change your outfit.
Yeah.
So those are two things that you can do in the game as well.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So chapter 3 is She Came from Outer Space. And this is your first rain level that you get. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here because there are these enemies that are little birds that have glowy eyes or whatever. And
those are everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I just said this is the first time I really noticed them, specifically because you also have these patches of oil that you can slip on and get covered in, which makes you walk around like a zombie with glowy eyes.
I don't really know what's going on either.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I said they were everywhere, I wasn't trying to refute you like, oh, how did you just now find them? I just meant that I don't know what they are either because they show up in every stage.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where they fit into the theming. Like, what you can hear over here at this point, there's like a scientist, Mafia guy, who will talk about how he's scared of monsters. Like the storm and your spacecraft and stuff means there's an alien.
Yeah.
And the level is to get covered in goop and then chase him.
Yes.
You de-zombify. You don't have to walk like a zombie anymore, but that scares him. And then you have to do a kind of a level chase through him. Again, keeping that variety up, but also just kind of, it is weird how it ties in.
Yeah. Did his design, especially on the splash stage, remind you of the scientist guy from WarioWare?
Dr. Krygor?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think he's got some Krygor DNA.
Yeah.
Do you want some? You got some Dr. Krygor DNA? Do you want some?
Yeah. But this is fun. Like the chase kind of stuff, like that almost functions. It functions a bit as like an advanced navigation tutorial because he does stuff that you are expected to do throughout the game.
Yeah.
And that happened with the chase with Mustache Girl too. It just there were no stakes.
Yeah.
You know, and you just kind of had unlimited time to do it. Here you actually have to chase them.
Yeah.
So pretty fun. Get to the Act 4, which is down with the Mafia. Where you go into the Mafia's casino there, and this is kind of like a little adventure game level of like trying to find keys.
Yeah.
There's some like very light stealth. It's going to double down on that in the next chapter.
Yes.
And try to get into this main hall. Like you go and you can get a cat some food in order to get this key, to get the freezer, get the main hall.
Yeah.
And eventually to run into the head Mafia chef.
Yeah. I love that cat that makes the real food.
The cook cat.
Yeah, the cook cat.
Yeah.
Incredibly good.
She joins you on the ship.
Yeah. But the Mafia's main chef, he's the one who has the hourglass. And he will not hand it over to you. He wants to crush you once and for all. This takes us into kind of the climactic boss fight of this chapter, which is a 2.5D fight against him on this big stage while his goons kind of cheer him on.
Yeah. Which is cute.
Like
it's easy. He does, pretty basic, kind of 101 boss attacks.
Yeah, like blind charges and stuff like that.
Blind charges. I'm going to throw 3 projectiles timed out so you can jump over them. The big thing is he creates a grand falloon of all the Mafia guys.
Yep.
That has a little hole in it that rolls over you, and you have to go duck under the hole and then climb up on top of it.
Yeah.
Which was fun. And just grotesque. Fun and grotesque, which I like.
Just a big wad of man.
Yeah. Man wad.
Yeah.
But yeah, after so you eventually you beat him, Mustache Girl finds out that the time orbs can do time traveling properties.
Yeah.
And she's like, why aren't you using these to fight evil?
Yeah.
You should do that to fight evil. You're like, I've seen movies.
Right.
And then she says she's going to steal them.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to go try to collect them all, and you guys become enemies. Like your friendship meter goes all the way down.
Yeah. Like negative off the left side of the screen.
Yeah. Yep. Again, fun interface stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is actually, I didn't do these last 2 acts in Mafia Town. I went and did bonus acts to get my hourglasses. So this was the last I saw of Mafia Town.
Yeah.
I was pretty eager to move on to other stuff.
Same. So I didn't do Act 5. Like weirdly, you need the time stop hat to do Act 5, and I didn't get that. Because just the yarn requirement was huge, but I did do Act 6 and 7. Act 6, the entire town is covered in lava because Mustache Girl has gone and opened up all the valves that control the volcano. So you have to turn all of them off to restore the water. Makes sense. But with the entire area covered by lava, the platforming is a little bit more difficult. When you're done, the Mafia presents you with this hourglass as a trophy for saving them. But another big transformation that level goes through, in addition to becoming nighttime and rainy and such.
Yeah.
The other one, it is just a scavenger hunt kind of thing. The golden vault. Throughout the acts so far, you may have found these safes that were jumping up and down, and you need like the code pieces to get into them. In this one, it is just a vault that requires 4 different pieces. And thankfully, like when you activate the vault without all of the pieces, it just kind of traces a line to where they are at.
Yeah.
So it is not just like a straight up, okay, go and shake down every corner
just
of the stage.
Look at things.
Yeah.
It also does, you mentioned not doing Act 5. If you try to do an act where you don't have the item, it stops you.
Yes.
So you're sure you want to do this, you don't have the item for it. Right. And I really appreciate that. Like, I think making you use later hats in earlier levels feels like a weird kind of forced non-linearity to me.
Yeah.
Like making me jump back and forth between these worlds and interrupting my heuristic doesn't buy you a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they don't let you just go in there and waste your time.
There's one of these things, like the big example that you were thinking of with the grappling hook. It comes because, they swapped worlds 2 and 3. And initially the Battle of the Birds is going to be level 3.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know that I knew that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so after this cooking cat shows up, the cat we mentioned, shows up at your house, tells you about relics, which again are those little trophies. They tend to be little mundane objects, and you get them as little collectibles in your hub.
Right.
I got the hamburger, and I got the cows being kidnapped by aliens, and that's all I got. And I was like, okay, I get it.
Cute.
I'm done. Cute. Yeah. Moving on to chapter 2, which is called Bird Battle. Yep.
You think I would feel this more deeply, Gary?
I would. I was unsure what you would think. Here's the conversation I had in my head. I was like, I bet you Cole's going to be with me on thinking DJ Grooves is not as funny as the game thinks he is.
Yeah.
But I wonder if Cole's going to like that conductor. Which, like, all the rank and file birds in this, I think, are cute.
Oh, they're so good. They're all like the Nebuchadnezzar owls and the crows.
Owls are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the penguins, the jazz penguins, the Blues Brothers penguins, pretty cute.
Yeah.
The voices of both these leads got on my nerves real bad. I like the variety of these levels. I think these are fun and cool, but man, the DJ Grooves, you gotta go.
Yeah. It cannot be.
And the conductor owl is Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
And one, you can't just do Scrooge McDuck for another bird.
No.
Like, he's already a bird. A bird has that voice.
Yeah.
Fucking Ursula the Sea Witch, Scrooge McDuck. No, thank you.
Oh, Jesus. So, you go into this new world, for Act 1, Dead Bird Studio. this is where like this world's movies come from. The birds are the entertainers and whatnot. And when you walk in, the conductor, who does not look like an owl to me, it looks like a wolf.
Yeah, he's got, or he had like cartoon chocobo vibes to me.
Yeah,
like certainly didn't look like an owl though.
It's not not a bad design. It just doesn't look like a living being.
Yeah, it's way more cartoony and he's right next to actual owls, so I don't know what he's supposed to be. Because those are clearly owls. Like they know how to make an owl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I don't know exactly what he was supposed to be.
But yeah, the conductor, this Scottish guy, Scrooge McDuck, is berating DJ Grooves, who's this moon penguin, which sounds like a horrible slur.
Yeah, moon penguin.
If you just call somebody a moon,
the moon penguins came and took our jobs, dude. Like, I feel like before the now we're getting into John Tron.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's admit the racism against moon penguins.
Yeah. They may already be here. No, but he looks kind of like a DDD.
Yeah, DDD is good. He's always dancing in this weird kind of smooth way that reminded me of Jet Set Radio.
Yeah.
Jet Grind Radio, and everybody, like, I feel like both the dialogue from like the concepts in these levels are cute and funny. I didn't think anything DJ Grooves or the conductor said were funny.
Yeah.
And it felt like they improvised a lot of their lines to me.
Ooh, yeah.
Like it felt a little bit like, hey, just vamp.
Yeah.
Like if you want to add in that thing, go for it. We're having a great time in the voice recording studio. But
I'm having a good time at this party.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just talking too much, dudes.
Yeah.
Like this is killing the pace a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do like that, like, as a general set, these are not super action levels.
Right.
Like they're like little bits of action, but there's like lots of stealth, which is not very well developed, but is fine. And lots of just kind of a lot of variety.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yes.
So the whole thing is they both got hourglasses. Hourglasses sprinkle in this world. They're going to use it as a prop because they're trying to win like their Oscar for the year. Like one of these studios always wins. You go in, they have trophies on both sides of the wall where they've both won tons of awkward Oscars. And when you first have to go into DJ Groove's zone, as you sneak in through this vent, you start again the interface, like this little thing that is fines pops up on the side.
You start accruing legal bills.
And it's very cute. Like, and this is a stealth section. Every time you get spotted, it's like interrupting the set.
Yeah.
$5,000 or whatever.
If you get too close to an owl, it's like you're just harassing an owl. $40,000.
Yeah, really cute, like pretty funny.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a stealth level. And thankfully they show you like just the areas where you can't go are highlighted in red. Where cameras and stuff are pointed. That is a good little touch. What makes this bearable, I think, is that there is basically no punishment until level 4. There is no punishment for failure in any of these.
Yeah. Like you still get hit, like you get hurt when you get seen by these things, and you have to start over. But like
the checkpointing is generous enough that if that hit kills you, you're just back like a couple of minutes.
Yes. Yeah. It's so light. Like this whole bit is so light.
Yeah.
And that's to its benefit.
Right.
Like this is not super hard. And that's great. Like it shouldn't have been, for this control scheme, a robust and difficult stealth section would have not been great.
Right.
So after you, as you're moving through, this is around the same time. Like we didn't necessarily get these at the same time. You might get this earlier or later, but you can get the ability to craft the ice hat, which has nothing to do with ice.
Yep.
This allows you to do a ground pound. You turn yourself into an ice statue. And I was like, that's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, and it's largely used again as a Metroidvania-esque, like activate a world feature. Like I never use this offensively. I just use it to activate these platforms.
Yeah. It was just a key for a very specific lock. Yeah.
Like this is a hat that requires, like this is a key that requires me to change hats to open, and that's weird.
Yeah.
Like as far as, actual actionable upgrades, like things that felt like upgrades in the game that don't feel like they should have been basic verb sets, there are 2.
Yeah.
Like changing your dash into a scooter is like a better version of the dash. And then the beam attack that you can add to your melee weapon are both feel like upgrades.
Yeah.
Everything else, like the potion throw is required for some things. It feels like it should have been default. The grappling hook, the freeze thing, like all these things should have just been avatar moves,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So weird choice.
Yeah. So you reach the end of this stage, and DJ Grooves is super excited to have a non-bird actor kind of wander into his studio. So he makes you a passport that lets you be in Birdland or whatever, and erases all of your debt.
Yeah, he rips it in half, which is fun. You get to see everything added up.
Mm-hmm.
You get to draw on your passport.
Yep.
And this will become your save file icon, which is cute. And then the conductor comes up and says, hey, if you're going to be in his movie, you have to be in my movie too.
Yes.
Gives you a prop, which is the hourglass. So you get your hourglass for this act. Yeah. And kind of the vague, based on how well you do on these levels, the different birds will get certain numbers of like points towards winning or whatever.
Right.
So you can choose which one wins during this vaguely.
Yeah. So. And so each of the acts has you performing in one of the movies for these different kind of bosses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The first one is Act 2, which is Murder on the Owl Express.
Mm-hmm.
And you are on, so the movie maker is also a conductor. That feels confused to me, but that's what's going on.
Right.
Who's on a train. And this is like legitimately, this is probably the closest I know this sounds very damning. Yeah. The closest I came to laughing.
Yes.
In the game. Like, this is the biggest smiles, like really, really cute.
I mean, you're walking around with all these nerdy owls and these secret crow agents.
Well, that's cute.
Yeah.
But them asking you hypothetical questions that would be your security clearance, and then trying to figure out a CAPTCHA and stuff like that's very funny, actually. Like, this is pretty funny.
Yeah.
I loved this. Like, I didn't, the play of it is not phenomenal. It's fine. Again, like, rises up to fine. But the jokes here are pretty good.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, because like a lot of these details end up being that you put in end up like changing the text of what you encounter when the stakes raise, right?
Yeah.
So you just kind of do a little bit of exploring on this train full of these crow secret agents, talking to them and doing the CAPTCHA and doing the security answer stuff. And then when you walk into the back, there's a dead owl back there. And so you have to explore the entire train to find clues to, quote, solve the mystery of the murder. And there are points you're getting these phone calls like saying like it'd
Saw-esque.
be it'd be a shame if something.
This is Zaz calling Batman.
It'd be a shame if something happened to your pet cat.
The things that you put in, and it's very funny, and I you can put in puerile stuff in there. You get an achievement for that, but then just him just being like, it'd be a shame if something happened to your pet cat Boner. Your precious aunt Boner died.
My answer for everything was ass. Like it didn't matter.
It's just funny. Like it's just genuinely like pretty good, this whole thing. Yeah. So you're going around doing clues, which are kind of minor platforming challenges mixed with stealth. There's still a stealth element. I don't know why these things can kill you in one hit. They can. Like, the movie thing made sense because you don't want to shut down production is the idea. But here it's like, you just have to start over. Like, there's no diegetic explanation for it.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end. And you, depending on which clues you get, you can choose who the murderer is.
Yes.
And I was like, crows? It's gotta be crows. Like, they're very suspicious.
Yeah.
How
did that shit, like, what was the result of that?
So I think you've got, and the notes is different. I don't know if this is actually a difference, but it wasn't DJ Groove. It was the conductor who did it to make the movie plot. And the person, obviously the owl wasn't dead. So pretty much everyone you chose could have been correct almost, except for your aunt, who is supposed to be the murderer, who's just a cardboard cutout. Which is very funny.
I selected the ant. So maybe that's why it turned out that DJ Grooves was the one who did it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I said it was the crows, and it turned out to be the conductor, and it was just to make the movie better and trick you into shooting scenes for a movie.
Yes. Yeah. Very cute. It feels like a callback for games or a call forward for us. It feels very similar to the Milkman conspiracy.
Oh, sure.
A little bit.
Yeah, I could see that. Pretty fun. Act 3 is picture perfect. You switch over to DJ Grooves. He wants you to become a diva, which means like getting fans and doing these fan clubs, going around just kind of crop dusting different different sets of penguins, and then eventually every once in a while running to a DJ Groove symbol, which are challenges based on his endorsement.
Yes. Yeah. Like one of these is to guess which card another bird is holding, but because you have full control of the 3D camera, you can just look and see. Yeah. It's
pretty fun.
Cute stuff like that. Get into stuff that's a little bit more mechanical with Act 4, the train rush. You need the grappling hook for this. And this is where it gets confusing because you can't finish this chapter until you damn near finish the other, like the next one.
Yeah, the next chapter.
Kind of strange. But the premise of this is that the conductor, in order to make the action feel more real, has rigged the train to explode, and you have 2 minutes to get up to the front.
Yes. You get more than that because you have pickups, like power-ups that give you more time. This is pretty fun. Yeah. To me, like, the checkpointing is super generous.
Yeah.
Some of these jumps were annoying to me, but like at the same time, it only set me back like a second.
Yeah, and if you die, like, you wake back up with like 90 seconds left, no matter where you're at. So the point isn't to be especially difficult. It almost feels like an arcade racing game a little bit.
Yeah,
when you're getting those checkpoints and the extra time ups, and the flavor in this is incredibly good. I love at the beginning the nerdy owl's like, did we load more explosive on today than we usually do?
Yeah. Those are ProZD, the YouTuber who does the very funny short movies. You've probably seen that guy.
Oh, the heavyset Asian fella.
Yes. Yeah. Who has the great thing about anime ages, where it's like, I'm an expert sniper, lockpick artist, and 5-star Michelin chef at age 14. Just like the payoff for that is extremely good.
Yeah, he no, he is fucking hilarious, is what he is. I didn't recognize him by name.
He's just very like good-hearted. Like that guy just seems like he's just like the sweetest dude. I love him.
And then also, like, as you're going along, like through this, I guess the conductor has placed penguins to play music. Like at different parts, so you'll just like dash past a couple of penguins playing a piano and trombone and stuff.
Yeah, pretty cute.
Yeah.
The first sign of like trouble for me in this game, and it's not all downhill from here, but I hate this, the big parade, Act 5.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing a parade, you have to be the parade marshal. Penguins are following you and they will hurt you, so you have to kind of keep moving. It reminds me of the Mario Galaxy, like Shadow Mario chasing you mechanic. And you're given a series of tasks to do this, and you can't touch the ground. It's full of people, so it's basically lava, and it will kill you. And it's long, and you always start it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I died a bunch of times. Like, I was dying from lack of health, from just like, okay, I get to the end of the switch I have to turn on the pyrotechnics. I stop to hit it, and my parade catches up with me, and hits me. And it's like, well, that just happens enough times. Like, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah.
This took me more tries than I care to admit, and by which I mean it's not like Genichiro, but like it took me 3 or 4 tries, and it's just was not very fun for me.
Yeah. It was difficult to discern what the game wanted me to do, just because I'll say it, both like any of the stuff associated with DJ Grooves, not very good.
Yeah.
Like the Diva one, like kind of funny, but
Diva one is not very good either.
Yeah.
It's inoffensive, but there's not a whole lot.
Yeah. And this is just like, I think way too chaotic for what they're asking you to do, which is not discernible really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So pretty annoying. Yeah.
Yep. No. So, regardless, you have to finish all of these in order to open up the finale. And the amount of points that you get will determine which of these directors gets the award, right? For me, DJ Grooves won. I think you can intervene to like decide is that right or not. And I was like, whatever.
It's like, is this who you want to have win?
Yeah,
it's a little bit of like replayability or whatever.
Yeah. I'm not sure how the boss fight changes. Who did you end up fighting at the end of this?
I fought the conductor.
Okay.
And this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I'm having such a hard time remembering anything about the fight.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to stealth type with my incredibly loud, unable to stealth keyboard to try to do that. I think it's the same fight.
Yeah, your keyboard is dummy thick. Yeah.
Extremely dummy thick. My keyboard keeps waking up the guards.
Yeah.
So in taking a look at it, it is a different fight. Let me see if I can refresh my memory, and apologies for this because I understand that this is obnoxious. He's a little bit more agile, I believe, as opposed to DJ Grooves. And the arena's different.
Right. Regardless, the way that this pans out, you go in and like you just walk up to the stage, and DJ Groove says, here's your prop. What did you expect there to be a bunch of crazy bullshit happening? And then you leave. But then as you're gone, I think even as you're like in your hub world, you get a call from the conductor saying like, hey, DJ Grooves kept the timepiece and he plans to use it. Like, go check out underneath the studios. So you have to go back to Act 1, the Deadbird studio, and this time it's at night. The actual studio is shut down, but you end up going beneath the studio down these elevators for just this really lengthy platforming and stealth section.
Yeah.
This is a big difficulty spike for this early in the game.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that this is supposed to be chapter 3.
Yes.
Right? Like, this would lead really well into the hated chapter 4.
Yes.
But this, So, taking a look, again, I'm watching the boss fight on YouTube. Like, I think the attacks they mostly, they run around an arena. Once you get there, they run around different arenas that are kind of branded after them. So DJ Grooves has a disco arena. The conductor has like a stage and gears and stuff and a train in the background, and kind of run around doing attacks that are vaguely based on what they've done before. So DJ Grooves has a parade, attack. The conductor sends like train track lines at you, very similar to boss fights that'll come later. At this point, and they'll like surround you with regular cars, non-train cars that you have to jump out of the way. Like, it's pretty tricky. Again,
DJ Grooves does those train attacks too.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I didn't watch the DJ Grooves one before this, so it's tricky.
Yeah. Several different phases to this. The first one, it's mostly you're avoiding like the jump and projectile attacks. When you get enough attacks in, at least for me, the screen went dark, and you have to look. DJ Grooves has set up a table, and he sets you down and says, "Hey, listen, like I just want to use the timepiece to get what I'm owed because I'm sure the conductor is cheating." Has cheated. So, let me do this. Are you going to let me have it? You can say no, and he calls you selfish, or you can say maybe, and he says, all right, but we got to keep up appearances, so I'm going to fight you anyway. And then it goes back into the second stage of the fight, where I think his most notable new attack is he'll make the screen go dark, and then we'll send kind of like copies of himself to do like samurai slashes and stuff at you.
Because he's a samurai as well as a disco.
Yes.
Doug.
Right. Did the conductor strap a bomb to you at any point?
I don't recall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I ended up playing this. One of the things we didn't talk about in the kind of flow of this, and you and I talked about it before we recorded a little bit, but that like seeing the appeal but not getting the appeal meant that when I sat down with this, a lot of the times it was pretty breezy. Getting myself to sit down with it was still difficult. Yeah. So I started this fairly early, but played it in disparate chunks.
Yeah.
And some of the boss stuff just like runs together, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
It didn't. If so, it didn't stand out to me. Like, I remember specific attacks from later boss fights like very well because I either struggled with them or I thought they were cool. Yeah. This boss fight was very Teflon-y to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Regardless, you take him out, and then you take the timepiece for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to Act 3, or Chapter 3, the Subcon Forest, which starts out with Act 1, contractual obligations.
Can they just call this Subcon, because that is straight up the world from Super Mario Brothers 2.
And it looks exactly like Halloween Land.
Yeah.
This is like the most Tim Burton thing that I've ever seen in my life. So it's interesting that they did something that is so just like spooky land. Mm-hmm. When previous to this, even though like I don't really like Mafia Land, it is not just a stage flavored stage.
Yeah.
Like we're in stage flavored stage territory now.
Yes.
Like it's a aesthetic that I like, but like boy,
mm-hmm.
it's called Subcon and it's Oogie Boogie Land or whatever.
But yeah, it's a big, spooky, twisted forest that has like these walls of mystical fire that are walling you off. There's really only one path that you can take, which leads to you being trapped in a sack and then deposited in this big purple void with a huge evil spirit. This is Snatcher. Yeah. And he is, a Faustian devil kind of figure who is obsessed with contracts. I like Snatcher quite a bit.
Yeah, I like him too. I also think he talks a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Like every kind of like paragraph of dialogue had one extra line that reiterated things that felt improv-y to me in a way I didn't care for. But I like him as a character, and I like the interface stuff. I like the contract popping up and how you have to sign it. Mm-hmm. And things like that. I love the, you feel empty.
Yes.
And then feel as normal and empty.
Yeah.
That's really great. He gives you a list of tasks, and this whole chapter is going to be bouncing, re-upping your anytime contract, like kind of over and over.
Yeah. You're on the Chris Evans plan.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing, so you have to clear out this well, which we talk about. We have to stop these fire spirits who are stopping you from continuing. They set up these firewalls. I don't really understand what these things are. Like they're little fox things that worship a fire, but want to quote unquote die, which involves throwing a painting into the fire, which I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Like just throw the asset into the asset.
Yeah.
To make the verb happen.
Yeah. Well, it's, maybe what they're doing is like he says, "Oh, please murder these fellows." And you go up and they say, "We want to die." So it's not actually.
But why do they die from throwing paintings in a fire? Like
because they need a body, they need flame to inhabit. I don't know.
There's fire there. It's just weird. Like I don't buy it. Like I don't know if that's what's going on, but it doesn't make. And why paintings? It just feels like asset.
Yeah,
to me.
The kind of the new mechanical thing in this, you have these gigantic cherries that will absorb these snakes and turn into cherry bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Sentences.
Yep. And they crack ice.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yeah.
It is a real like asset soup going on in Subcon here.
Like when I talk about the game being really confused in terms of like theme and aesthetic, that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I do like the bombs, just that you do have a limited amount of time and you have to carry them, and you don't have your full range of motion when you are carrying something heavy.
Yeah. You can't double jump. You just do the single jump. After you do so, the spirit appears and makes you sign another contract. And this is a false choice. It gives you a choice between two things, but you'll end up doing both.
Yes.
It's either deliver 10 packages or explore the spooky, find out what's in this attic.
Yeah. And
spoiler, it's a Mario Star.
Right. Yeah. So they give you the choice and it's like, well, fuck, I'm not going to deliver 10 of a thing. What is this, an MMO? I'm going to explore the spooky attic. I have a huge issue with this actually, because you have to finish both of them.
Yeah.
When you have to go and get the other one, you just have to wander around the forest and hope that you trip one of his traps. Yeah. So I had to like look up in a forum like where to activate some of these because I just wasn't finding them, and I don't know what to look for visually to get this. Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just have the courage to make one of these optional.
Yeah.
Put some content there. You just did it with the bosses.
Mm-hmm.
In the last thing, like just make it so, and that kind of plays into them having that minimum star requirement at the end, which I know is a thing that Mario does as well, but that minimum is more than just completing the worlds.
Right.
Just let me be out when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be done when I'm done. So after this, in between the acts, the boss of the Mafia appears on your ship in a jar. He's like eyeballs and a mouth in a jar.
It's pretty grisly, actually.
It's pretty grisly, but it's funny.
Yeah.
And he's selling a pin that will show you where relics are on the map. So if you want to collect, you can collect.
Mm-hmm.
I shan't. Moving on to the different acts. Act 2 is Subcon Well, which is kind of your grappling hook. Tutorial for this. You get the grappling hook. The grappling in this game is okay.
It hit at just the right time to add additional interest for me.
Yeah. But I think it plays into the, like, nothing this game does is great. Like, it does a lot of things at, like, B- level.
Yeah.
You know, like stealth, like, even just like into the platforming and stuff. And the grappling hook mechanics feel like that too. Like, it doesn't feel that good. It feels okay. You know, and it's pretty kind of perfunctory. Like, there's not a lot of expressiveness in the movement of it.
Yeah.
You know, that comes through. It just kind of adds a little bit of another minor way of traversal that's in line with the seal, like the joy ceiling of the traversal earlier as well. Yeah. To me.
Yep. The well itself is a pretty good stage. It's nice and atmospheric. I like the path that you take to get there, crossing over this marsh where if you stand in the marsh water, the spirit arms will reach up and you have a certain amount of time.
Yep. I don't like that marsh. That became very annoying during the delivery thing to me.
Yeah. I got the right amount of marsh getting to the well.
Yeah. Yep. Act 3, though, I like how they break this up. Act 3 is just a boss fight. There is a soul in an outhouse. And
it's your soul. Snatcher lost your soul and it possessed an outhouse.
Which is very funny. And I think this is like a nod to Conquer.
That has to be. Yeah.
You know, in just terms of category. In terms of playing categories.
I love the dice for categories.
I love categories, but if it was about just like shit, it'd be a different game.
Yeah.
You know? So this is my favorite boss fight in the game.
It's really good.
This hits the level that I want these boss fights to hit. He does a lot of attacks that the actual boss of this chapter does as well. So it previews them. The one thing that I don't love is that he does this thing where he jumps on the ground and makes a shockwave come out, which I like.
But it knocks you down.
But it knocks you down, so it's double impact. Like if you're on the ground when he hits, it creates a shockwave and knocks you down. And he does it at a speed that's very easy to get kind of stun locked in it. So the goal, eventually I got it, but you had to end up having to kind of double jump.
Yeah.
And to me, like the semiotics of that attack as born by Mario is I just need to jump over the shockwave.
Yeah.
I don't have to also like it's two different video game tropes.
Yeah, I don't have to be off of the ground and then also jump over those things. Yeah.
The animation during it is really beautiful. Like there's a thing when you get the object, the cherry bomb to throw back at him, where the outhouse cowers.
Yep.
And it's so expressive. Like imagine like in your head, like an outhouse cowering from you.
Yeah.
Which would be a great haunted outhouse in real life. Like it's just the outhouse that doesn't want to be used. Which would be my
please no.
Me. Yeah. Please no more pee.
I'm so
please
full.
No more piss. Yeah. I couldn't have another bite. You know? I don't want to look at the dessert menu. Leave me alone.
That'd be so easy to do. Just get a Raspberry Pi, and an Arduino and a porta pot.
Yeah, very funny. Please no more. Honey full. You know, pretty great. Like the animation's great. And it's a pretty fun fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Act 4, Queen Vanessa's Manor. This is the spooky attic.
Yeah.
Attic.
Yes.
Which this is pretty great.
I love this. This is incredibly good because it is another flavor of stealth, but it is
pursuit stealth.
Yeah, it is a horror game.
This is Haunting
stealth.
Ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Clock Tower.
Hey, can you tell me what the to me is from? Because it sounds like a Twitter joke construction, but I don't know.
It's not even a Twitter joke construction. It's just a funny phrasing
to me
that is from Twitter, but is not. You know, that like this is, and then the thing, and then comma to me,
to me,
and it's to me, and I just think it's got a fun comedy. It's got a funny rhythm to it.
Yeah, it imparts unnecessary subjectivity to something that doesn't demand it.
Yes. That's exactly it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And I've killed the joke by explaining it.
That joke is a real like strong word for that. It's just how you read a phrasing enough times that it just gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
Like everybody adopts phrases that they hear, and that's just the one that I have right now. And then my arc will be that I'll keep doing it someone on Twitter who I don't know will at me and be like, hey, can we give that a rest? So then I'll do it for another couple of weeks, and then it'll naturally fulfill its purpose. Like contrarianism will give me the little shot in the arm to keep it up even past when I'm interested in it. But then eventually it'll just run its course because that's how language works.
Why do we both have such problems with authority?
You know what? I don't know. I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's the right way to be.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Like
it's just yeah.
I don't like. I think it's fairly universal to not like being told what to do.
Yeah, probably.
And being told what to do by an authority figure is one thing, but being told what to do by a stranger is like a very surreal aspect of public life that, I think I'd be surprised who doesn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Now who's gonna be like, yeah, oh yes, sir. Like nobody's gonna dig that. At least that's how I feel about it. Maybe other people do not have as big an issue.
Yeah. Queen Vanessa's Manor, very good. It is a haunting ground to me. So to get to this manor, you have to take advantage of one of the features of this stage, and also it relates to the mask that you get from this place, or the hat rather, which is the Dweller mask.
Yes.
What happens is there are these spooky fields that will cause that will cause things that are incorporeal to become corporeal, and cause things that are corporeal, specific things, to become incorporeal. So you have to take advantage of fields created by these bells in order to do this kind of timing-based platforming to get where you need to go. And eventually, when you get enough yarn for the Dweller mask, you can do that at will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's I generally, and I'm on the record of not liking, like, hit a timer and then do a platforming challenge where it's hard because you have a limited amount of time to do it. But this is the right amount of it. They'll double down on that later. Yeah. But here is when it's fine. And mostly, like, I like this for the aesthetics. Like, Queen Vanessa is loud and big and scarier than you'd think based on the subject matter or based on the genre, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Like, when she catches you, it is this, like, screaming, dark, like, explosion of light and just really loud. Yeah, really, really loud.
But like you are running around in this mansion, like trying to find hiding places and the keys that you need to get them down from where they are. You have to make noises, which will bring her out. And all the while, you are finding these little like scraps of dialogue, these little scraps of diary that give the backstory about how she was the scorned lover, and then that stuff is called into question. This rules.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, like this is and great variety. Like I did not expect something like this. The stealth before was like your typical kind of like Sly Cooper, stay away from the cones of light. Fair, like this is different. So yeah, this is cool. Yes. Way less cool is Act 5, which is mail delivery service, which just it gives you a badge that turns your if you don't already have it, you could have bought this before, which I find frustrating. Which I did. Like I spent hard-earned fucking pawns on the sprint, the thing that turns my sprint hat into a scooter. Yeah. So he gives you that if you don't have it, and you use your scooter to kind of do like a little bit of like a shooter. Like when you hold down a button, you get a aiming reticule. Yeah. To throw mail at 10 different denizens of this place, and it's just a scavenger hunt. Yes. Like it's just go find some people who have little mail things over their head. Like it's super slight, but also just not very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't like go find these people.
I don't like go find any, like don't scavenge me. Yes. Like don't scavenge me as a person and don't make me scavenger hunt. I hope I die without ever being scavenged. Like that seems like a good goal, I think.
Yeah. I mean, whole aspects of society kind of cropped up around protecting bodies from being robbed. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you think those are going to stay up? Like after the fucking water wars? Are you out of your mind? Like we're not like grave robbing is going to be the least of our concerns. Yeah.
I mean, somebody's going to harvest your carbon, then you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. Carbon if I'm lucky. After you do this kind of like annoying chore, we get our boss fight, which is Act 6. Your contract has expired. Yeah. Since you've outlived your usefulness, the Snatcher takes your hat and starts to attack you. Right. There's a great little bit of interface thing where like he's invincible because he's purple.
Yeah.
But you can actually take one of the flasks he throws at you and splash it on him.
Yeah.
Which makes him blue, and then now he can be hurt.
Well, he taunts you about it, saying, "Oh, you're expecting me to turn blue, are you?"
Yeah.
I won't do that. You splash him with the flask, and then it's like, "Well, that won't work, will it?"
Yeah,
he has
and,
no
and
idea.
it does, which is great.
Yeah. And he's got all these different moves. He's normally kind of pinned to the center, but you've got to survive enough onslaughts for him to kind of wander out and make himself vulnerable. This has my favorite music track in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yep.
This has one attack that I think is bad, which is the one where he winks and then he creates a double.
Yeah.
And you get, in the space of like what feels like 2 seconds,
Yeah.
you get teleported to a black void, and you don't know whether you are in like a different interface. You don't know what you're doing. You have to attack one of them. If you attack the wrong one, the other one hits you from behind.
Yes.
He winks to telegraph which one's the fake one, but you don't know that, until you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a shock to be like teleported into a black void in the middle of an attack with no like setup or anything. That felt like very unfair damage to me, until I figured it out.
I was uncertain of what was happening for way too long.
Yeah, I just don't know what it is. Like, that. Oh, okay. Like,
mandatory damage. Cool.
Yeah. And that's not super cool. But it does. This has multiple phases. This is where I noticed that like the phase shortening thing, or like felt it and then read about it later.
Yeah.
Just like, hell yeah. So afterwards, you encounter him in this void, and he wants you to sign a contract that is just like leave with your stuff.
Contract, get out. Subheading, just to get out. The following parts of the forest will be available. None of it. Get out.
Yeah,
please take your junk and leave.
Yeah, just wants you to leave, similar to like end of Portal 2 or something.
Yeah.
But you go through and you write all over the contract to like make him be your best friend and stuff, just to tease him.
That's not how contracts work, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You could do that before when he took your soul. But very cute.
Yes.
And then I don't like the rest of the game.
Right.
Like in a real sense. Like I think this is not super good.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird though. So like what they do. So Alpine, Chapter 4, Alpine Skyline, only has one mission, or has an act and a finale, and it's free roam is what it says.
Right.
So I think they're trying to evoke like that, hey, just go run around, a big level. But it's effectively just missions anyway, which those always are. Like they always say like, oh, just do whatever you want. But it's basically a mission. Like this is a hub mountain that goes off to 4 different other mountains. Yeah.
And it feels like if there was more to explore, that might be a different thing. However, like you've got the central mountain, which doesn't really have that much going on. Like there are some people who will point to particular points of interest to get around. The different places that you can go, the spokes off of this main place, are just courses that you have to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to get to these things. Like you do this thing where you zip line.
It's an absurdly big level.
It's absurdly big, and you spend a lot of time on a zip line, which they kind of spice up by having you be able to like dodge into coins and stuff, but it's not particularly good. And then the theming of this is precision platforming. Yeah. Like of these kind of 4 things. And it felt like it came out of nowhere to me.
Yeah. It's another big difficulty spike after I think 2 consistent chapters of having like some really good and inspired variety to the different things that you do.
There's almost no variety here, and there's almost no character.
Right.
There are little critters like crawling around that have Bjork accents, and they talk about how there are goats who are around. The goats don't talk, but we don't get a sense of this as a place. Like, what is this? You know, like Oogie Boogie Town, like, yes, you throw paintings into a fire to free foxes, like, and that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But it's like, oh, I look at this and I'm like, oh, it's Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. I don't get what this is, and I don't get what the culture is here that I'm like interacting with.
It is supposed to be like Himalayan, like a Tibet kind of deal. Almost a little bit pulling from certain aspects of like the game Journey a little bit. But like the presence of like the prayer flags and stuff like that is kind of a big giveaway that it's supposed to be, you know, Himalayan.
I guess, but I mean, even if it's supposed to be Himalayan, right? Like, I guess, so nobody, like, there are houses, there's a goat village that we run into, but we never talk to the goats. Yeah. Everyone else who's just standing around being like an audible sign, though.
Yeah. Hey, look, there's a horn up there.
it's just like less lived in feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
Than these other places, like a little less, and there's just less text to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the movie, I think that both the principal movie makers talk too much, but they talked, and I was like, okay, this is in this world, there are two birds who make movies. They have different aesthetics, and they're competing for Oscars.
Yeah.
Here, I never got any sense of that. Like, I got that vague thing you're talking about, where it's like, oh, it's kind of alpine-y because it's named Alpine Skyline.
Yeah.
I get it's kind of like a Himalayan mountain thing, but other than that, like, what else? You know, like what happens there, and who's there, and you know, it's the least developed.
Yeah.
Of all the dealies, and my least favorite play. Like, some of the platforming you do in these things is fine.
Yeah.
Some of it is less than fine, but putting that stress is what made me realize, like, oh, why do I keep falling off things when I don't want to?
Yeah. Why am I overshooting stuff?
Why am I overshooting things constantly?
Especially because this is, I think, the first place where they have you walking on tightropes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And jumping from tightrope to tightrope, which, like, to do that, you need to just have your character just like zip onto it, like lock onto it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very finicky in this. It also, so there are 4 different hubs, and just making my way between the hubs was very annoying. Like, at the end of it, when you got a time piece, great. But during the finale of this, at the end of it, when you get a plant, walking back. And I'm like, man, what is this? Like, I don't know. But so there are 4 different hubs. Let's chat about them.
Yeah. So at the end of these, when we just talk about like the arc of this, you're going and collecting the timepieces. For some reason, when you pick up the timepieces, a flower grows and it spews out pollen that infects the big goat men. Mm-hmm. And that sets up the end of that. I'd say, okay, cool. Yeah. And if you use your top hat, it will kind of guide you through these in this order. The first of these is the birdhouse. Mm-hmm. And you need to navigate this big kind of airy that is full of exploding eggs, and very frustratingly, these little black Fonzie birds who will headbutt you off of platforms. God,
that is such a terrible. One of the things this made me think of, and it was gonna be like a grand game designy thesis thing, and I didn't spend enough time thinking about it. But this game did make me think that, like, I really like it when games take a very considered approach to what could your possible punishment be other than repetition? Mm-hmm. Because 99% of the time, the price for failure in a video game, we say that it's like death or what have you, but really what that amounts to is repetition.
Yeah, it resets.
So these guys pushing you off a platform to make you redo a series of like setup jumps is not really different than killing you in one shot and making you just reload at that checkpoint. And neither of which is like particularly good. Like, this feels worse than if they just one shot you, but both options kind of suck. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know exactly all the ways out of that. Like gamers and myself even sometimes resist that, right? Like, when you try to make like interesting consequences for failure, people will reload. Like, they don't want interesting consequences for failure. Right. But the uninteresting consequence for failure, which is the only consequence for failure in almost every video game that's ever been made, is repeating yourself. Yeah. You know, and here it's like, yes, you know, if you didn't succeed at the thing, maybe you want another shot to try it. Like, I can get that in a certain situation. With these jumps, like, this birdhouse is not like the platforming is particularly demanding or interesting. Mm-hmm. It's just tedious to redo it. Yeah. You know, there's nothing getting the Fonzie birds pushing you off doesn't, like, I wasn't like, oh shit, I hope I did that better. I was like, where the fuck did that guy come from? Okay, fine. I guess I'll do these jumps again. Yeah. You know, it always felt bad. Yeah. To me.
Something that really was a bummer for me as well. Sometimes it was inconsistent whether dying or being pushed off of a platform would set me further back. Sometimes when you are pushed off and you fall far enough back, it is treated as a death, and then you just kind of respawn at a checkpoint. Other times you will just kind of land and be stranded way further back than if you had just died.
It's like you landed and then like that pushed you past a checkpoint thing or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's strange. Like, it's and it's weird. It varies between zone to zone. Yeah. Like, they during the windmill level, which we'll get to, the checkpoint is 1,000 times more generous, and missing a jump just kills you even if you wouldn't ordinarily die. Yeah. And just puts you before making the jump again. Yeah. So it's just it's strange.
Yeah. And something that I feel ought to be said because it colored my experience. This is where the game kind of technically started falling apart for me, specifically crashes to desktop. There were at least 2 of these levels where I had to do the run up to them from the main hub, like to get basically to the timepiece 4 times for one of them.
Rough stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky I did not have that problem, but that would have driven me nuts.
Yeah.
Too. There's also like the lack of flavor here, the kind of lack of flavor and character in this level is a bummer because there are little hints of it.
Yeah.
Like this birdhouse, what you're doing is you're getting to this big fat bird that's sleeping and bouncing off his belly to get to your time piece. Yep. When you get outside of the birdhouse, one of the little like Swedish characters says, I wonder who lives here. You know, birds don't build birdhouses.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. Like that
who built
not
this?
To be too stoned, but, like, not to be too Denny's, but that does sound like, whoa, that's kind of interesting. Like somebody built this. You know, somebody has put this bird in a jail. Like birdhouses are jails. Somebody put this bird in a jail. Who did? The answer is nobody, because there's not answers anymore, because this is just the gameplay chapter of the game. And when early in the beginning of the episode, when I talked about maybe feeling like they ran out of money, the reuse in this level that happens in the finale and the lack of polish in this section made me feel like that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, contrasting this with the last chapter is just amazing because I had so much variety and so much character and humor to it, and that's all gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
just a stark contrast in the and the richness of ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you get that, you move on to the lava cake, which is kind of a lava level, but there's not that much lava. All of these really kind of, other than the Twilight Bell, are just platforming challenges. To get to the lava level, you have to do a series of jumps on that air dash.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's what this is going to be about, but it's not.
No.
You know, so the third one is the windmill. This is probably my favorite of the 3. This is where they introduced that trick you're talking about, that like where you dip under something and then double jump back up, which is that's always fun.
Yeah.
So you're kind of inside a windmill. It's a little bit like a clock tower, Castlevania style.
Yeah.
Lots of gears and moving platforms and such.
Yeah.
And they're very generous with checkpointing. Like if you fall, even if you'd survive, they just restart you with a ding to your health.
Yeah. I like this quite a bit. This is massive, actually. It is a lengthy section. Does not feel that way though. Either because of variety or just because they're consistently asking you to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
The fourth of these is the Twilight Bell. This is the one that I had to do 3-ish times. I think possibly 4. Yeah. The path even to get to the bell to start the area is very, very long.
Yeah.
Once you ring the bell, you are taken into this dark and starry world. And this is all about using the dweller mask and using the bells to manage which platforms and which floors are solid or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found this pretty annoying. Like lots of those timing puzzles. There's a thing, there's a place where it's sending you to go, like if you use the objective mask thing, but you have to go ring a horn first. So I got to the end of it and there were no flags to zip line on. I had to backtrack to go get the bell, which was not the biggest deal in the world. It's kind of like a timing, like you have to race down this disappearing platform.
Yeah. And the secret is you have to like do a double jump and then activate your dweller mask to take over after the bell fades.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't care for this very much. Lots of that kind of timing.
I would have liked it a lot more if I did not if I did not have to do it many times.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then you get to the finale of this, the illness is spread, which I did this.
Okay.
You go to, there are 3 different plants that are in these areas that are reused. You have to make your way to, I think the birdhouse, the lava house, and the windmill zone to go attack a plant that's nearby.
Yeah.
The thing. And getting there is fine. There are a couple of things that like lightning will strike a part of the mountain, so you have to take a different path. Nothing too egregious. But when you get to the end, there's a goat patrolling who will hurt you now because they've been agnostic to you before.
Right.
And then the most annoying thing is there are like bullets raining from the sky and gigantic roots The sky will glow for a second and then a gigantic root will land on it. And you just kind of have to run through this kind of like Saving Private Ryan-esque mad dash to get to the plant, which you then whack 3 times. The goat falls down, but then you just have to make your way back all the way to the beginning of the hub and then all the way back out to that spoke.
They couldn't give you a courtesy warp back to the hub?
Courtesy warp or open up one of those fucking flags.
Yeah.
Like we've established that those flags just kind of show up, like just make one of those flags grow out.
Yeah.
It was tedious and lots of level reuse. And then this was the beginning of when I had my heights in the bird level and the subcon level. I didn't like Alpine Skyline, but I got to the end where it reused all the stuff, and then I tried to go to the finale and I couldn't because I had to get 25 timepieces. Yeah. So I went and did a bunch of virtual, VR missions, and I was like pretty cranky by the time I got to the actual finale.
Yeah.
Which is called Time's End.
Yes. So the minimum bar to get to the end of the game is to have 25 timepieces. I was I got through without finishing chapter 4. So the world might be mended. So it was probably fine, but yeah, 25 out of the 40 that the game tells you there are.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because people probably think it's a little bit nuts to like complain about having a minimum number of those things.
Yeah.
I just think that the minimum should be completing the levels.
Yes.
Like I completed all the levels. I didn't go back to Mafia Town, I guess, now that I realize.
Thinking about it, that's probably what was the difference.
Well, it was more than that. I was down at the end of them. I had 21, I think.
Oh, wow.
At the end of that, so I needed 4. Mafia Town would have given me 2. And then I ended up doing 2 VR missions. But just make it just lower that number so you can just kind of go through the levels and trust that people who will dig this will do more.
Yeah.
But allow for people who you don't have to allow for the 2 people on Earth beating it to record a podcast about it.
Cater to me.
Yeah, I don't think we're very much of a use case. But even if I had just played this without doing it for the show,
yeah.
So sometimes a game I don't want to get all the extra stuff. I just want to see credits.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bad feeling when it's like, all right, and go do more.
Yeah. Well, what if I just wanted to end it?
That sunk Wind Waker for a lot of people.
Yeah, and rightfully so, right?
No.
I like Wind Waker. I think Wind Waker is beautiful. Don't do that. Zelda games. Don't do that. Video games. Let somebody be done when they want to be done. That's a weird thing that as much as I'm warm on it and slightly cooler than most of my peers, but one of the things I love about Breath of the Wild is that they let you just, hey, do the ending when you want to do the ending. It's up to you what the middle part will look like.
Yeah.
And I think that's a brilliant structure for a video game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Time's End, because there's a little, an exceedingly small segment where you get to play as Mustache Girl. She gets into your ship and into the vault where the timepieces are stored, breaking them and then causing the planet to go nuts.
Yes.
To get down to the planet, where she's at, you have to unlock the attic with those 25 timepieces and then use 3 particular hats, the Ice, the Dweller, and the Brewer, in order to get the telescope.
Yeah.
And go down there. Yeah. We didn't talk about the Brewer hat. I forget what stage you got that in, but that just lets you throw grenades.
It's a projectile. Yeah. And you use, again, it's a verb. It's not just a bonus. It's used to break things. So any kind of crate or, weirdly enough, tombstone, you want to break to get the succulent innards, you have to use the potion.
Yes.
For. So I also didn't get the time stop.
Yeah.
So we end up at this thing. So this is what Mustache Girl's plan was, is to kind of be this arbiter. She creates Bowser's Castle. She lives in Bowser's Castle, and she is the arbiter of who is a good person, who's a bad person.
Yes.
So all of the miscellaneous bachelors from all the levels that we've fought are all in line. You cut in line. There's a little cute take a number thing.
Yeah.
But you cut in line to get the top of it where everyone's waiting to be judged, and you have to do this very tough platforming that is very Bowsery.
Yes. A lot of jumping over spinning wheels of fire and such. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty final exam-y. It mixes and matches a bunch of things. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't think it's like not necessarily harder than the stuff in the Twilight Bell to me.
Right.
Like the curvature is a little bit weird, but it's fine.
It leans a little bit more heavily on temporary blocks.
Yeah. It also does the thing. One of my least favorite things about Mario 64 is when Mario gets his butthole burned up by lava, and then you do that thing that makes you land on the ground and run really fast. So you're just gonna keep going in lava,
right,
over and over and over. She does the jump up in the air, but then just lands like a person.
Yeah. So
I like that. Like a person might land if their asshole was dipped in lava. Like they might just be fine.
Like that, exactly like that. Relatable.
Relatable content. So
but you get to the end and Mustache Girl is sitting atop her pile of timepieces, preferring her judgment, right, about who is or is not a bad guy. And she tries to let you go, saying like, hey, you're a little bit selfish, but you're a good guy.
We used to be friends.
Yeah, we used to be friends, so you can go. You can get a false ending by leaving. It even raises a question like, hey, are you sure you want to leave? If you say yeah, you go back out, and then kind of does a little scene, and then you end up back in here. So
I did not do that.
Yep, gives you a little bit of it lets you do that. The way forward, the way to beat the game is to run up and approach Mustache Girl in order to start the boss fight.
So she's small and agile. She teleports tons.
Yeah.
She like warps around and throws projectiles. And it's pretty rare when you can actually get a good hit on her, but you have to get a certain number of hits to trigger kind of the real phase.
Yes. Yeah. Where she warps you into this kind of like psychedelic dreamscape atop a fluorescent disc.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in this like final destination zone you're in, you're surrounded by all your friends who are watching, and they all like have your back. And this felt really weirdly. So it's kind of meta.
Yeah.
Right. So they all yell and stuff, and they keep repeating this phrase, "Get lost."
Yeah.
To her, and I was like, "Is that referencing a cut content or something?"
Yeah.
That earlier, like, was that her catchfriase in the first draft? Or something? Why do they keep saying it?
Yeah, they make a point to say this, like they're rejecting her authoritarianism, right? Yeah. They're saying like, who are you to judge? Like you're making her lifestyle get lost. Yeah,
like, and then people are like, I can't wait for her to get lost. Yeah, she needs to get lost.
Yeah,
like, it is repeated a number of times that. Like that weird creeping sense where you're like, this has to be something, right? Like,
yeah,
what is it? Like,
I mean, so it seems like the message is, like, are they trying to say she was a monster because she was a misfit and nobody liked her, but it's actually a good thing to exclude monsters? Like, I don't know what the moral of this is.
Yeah, it's very hard to see what's going on. The part that's kind of clever is they realize like, oh, like if we die, we drop health pickups.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit meta. So let's hit each other and die.
Yeah.
Like let's die so we can constantly supply Hat Girl with these pawns to survive. And that's a weird spite move too.
Yeah.
For this character that I'm just surprised they have such strong feelings about. Like, was there a draft of this game where Mustache Girl was involved in the other worlds? Because Snatcher shouldn't even know who the hell she is.
Right. Well, I mean, they talk about like at the beginning, says, I'm gonna go and try and get all of these timepieces before Hat Kid can do this. Like maybe it was supposed to be like a Pokemon Ash and Gary kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she didn't show up.
Right.
Like she says she's going to go get the thing. And I was like, oh, like maybe she will get, we'll get our timepiece at the end, and then it'll show something that we accidentally fucked up and allowed her to get a timepiece by doing it.
Right.
What if after the attic lady stage, the Queen Vanessa stage or whatever, we get a little cutscene where Vanessa is like, mourning, because we got her sanctum, and Hat Girl like sneaks in and does something,
right?
Because we fucked it up.
Yeah.
Like we killed the toilet, and now she's able to get inside the toilet. I don't know.
Right.
Something like that though, like something that would tie these two things together, as opposed to having this character be a big deal in the beginning and a big deal at the end with emotional stakes and nothing in between.
Right.
I
don't know how I'm supposed to feel about Mustache Girl. Right.
Yeah.
She's obviously doing bad things, but the way it's coded, like all media has told me that you are supposed to feel for the outcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the fact that Mustache Girl is just not a presence in the entire middle of the game. No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very strange to me. Like the emotional beats this is trying to hit at the end.
Yeah. Like mechanically, it's kind of neat because, the bosses of the areas, they kind of throw in things that are themed. So like the mob boss, ends up summoning in a whole grand falloon of his dudes that you can use to, kick at her. And then Snatcher like ends up throwing in, cherry bombs for you to use to break shields.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you kind of stomp her. Like she's not super hard.
Mm-hmm.
You end up back in the throne room. And she's kind of prone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's on the ground. You take your timepieces and she's gonna you can give her a timepiece. She asks for one.
Right.
And, just to deal with the mafia. And it says like, you get a little option like, hey, you might not be able to make your way home.
Yeah.
None of these questions are answered.
Right.
Like whether that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like we stop a medias race as well.
Yeah.
I gave her one because it felt like the right thing to do, even though I didn't have any particular affection for her.
Yeah. Same.
I was assuming it would not let me deny her one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you actually do that after you reset time. Like you send wind down from the ship, to her. And with your timepieces, you get ready to go home again. And as you're getting ready to go, the engine stalls out. Well, it's because all of your buddies are clinging to the side of the ship. Hat Girl gets a squeegee and then I guess just drops them off of the ship so they can burn up in atmosphere.
I love it. Like it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite moments in the game.
Yeah. Well,
like is them all being like, please, we're your friend. And her just being, and I think this is one of the times where she says like a word,
mm-hmm.
but I think she goes, mm-mm, or like goodbye, or so, like says like a little squeaky thing, and then just squeegees them off, like windshield wipers them off, and then she cries a little bit, but then she just leaves.
Yeah.
And again, that's part of why I love the character.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's a hat in time. We have not covered the DLCs, just because the base game was the only part of the remit.
Yeah. And I mean, it would be, if I was hungry for more, I would have played more.
Yeah.
As is, like I don't like. I feel like I probably came off more negative on this than I was in the actual experience of playing it because of the bad taste, the final segments.
Yeah.
But it's like it is cute, it is varied. I just came away feeling like that was okay.
Yeah.
Been a while since I played a game where I'm like, that's a 7.
Yeah,
like a 6,
it's we hopped on and I said, this is the game for which I feel nothing.
Yeah. Which the last time I remember you saying that was Deus Ex 2 Invisible War. Like you're like, I feel nothing about this.
Right.
And like the there's probably an argument to be made that is also like an immersive sim.
Mm-hmm.
What this is, where it just like doesn't do anything the best.
Right.
I can't. There are a lot of 7 out of 10s or 7s or 6 out of 10s that I have strong feelings about.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are things that are probably pretty average, but I just really dislike.
Yeah.
Because they hit my specific sensitivities, right? Like, but then there are also things that are 6s or 7s out of 10s that I love.
Yeah.
Because they do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dark Corners of the Earth.
Right.
Probably a 7 out of 10 game if I'm being, as charitable as I can be.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Like it's, I absolutely adore it. Like it's not, even when that gets bad, there's still enough things happening that I like it.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a 7 out of 10 where I'm like, yeah, it's a 7 out of 10. Like the serviceable sandwich that I wouldn't order twice.
Yeah. This is every grilled chicken sandwich I got at a convention.
Yeah, this is a grilled chicken sandwich from a convention.
Yeah.
That sounds about right to me.
And, again, damnation by fame praise, I'm happy that like I got to see what one of these games looks like in this era. And I am for sure happy that it wasn't fucking Ukulele.
Yeah.
But
well, I might have rejected Ukulele. Like that has enough of a bad reputation.
Yeah.
There's also a part where I was reading about when I'm doing research on this, Ukulele came up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in Ukulele, there's a level where progress is literally tied to a slot machine.
Oh God.
Like you have to play like a slot machine to get a certain doodad to continue. And I was like,
yeah,
boy, that seems like the kind of thing that anyone in the room would say no.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So, just I hate to damn it by faint praise, but the highs, acts 2 and 3 are very, very high, specifically the bird stuff with the conductor and things like that, all the spooky Yuki forest kind of stuff. When I say I can see the appeal, I can intellectually put myself in the shoes of somebody or the hat of somebody who hasn't played, who loved these games back in the day. There hasn't been a good new one for 15 years. And then all of a sudden this very particular itch is being scratched. The unfortunate part for the episode is that I was not that person who felt that absence. I did not feel the need that this met.
I want this to exist for that person.
Yes.
Like very badly, like the same way that we are living in a golden time for fans of CRPGs and strategy games right now. Which are my jam. And I'm very happy that like people are making good new ones. I want this to exist, and I'm glad we did it because for the reason you said, and also just we haven't done a traditional 3D platformer.
Right.
There's no never. I can see if we ever go back doing games at live shows, like doing Mario 64, doing All Stars or something like that. But this month is definitely making me feel like, yeah, I got the 3D platformer I need.
Yeah.
Like I'll play the new Mario games when they come out, but boy, like I feel like I don't really need this. Like I don't in my life. Like it's not quite good enough for me in a weird way. Like it's just not fun enough for me to move in 3D space. And other people get an immense amount of joy out of it.
Yeah.
Like just moving an avatar around in 3D space like that just feels incredible to some people. And I get that. Like I understand that feeling. I just don't feel it.
Yeah. I hope it's not coming across as like super condescending that we're talking about these notional people like we're David Attenborough observing
these people.
A bonobos in the bush, No.
I'm super glad that I get it. Like there are different things that are my sensitivities.
Like there was a point, like when we were looking at, the new structure for the show where you put out a call on Twitter saying like, hey, like, what would make a good, what are like baller kind of A+ games that eventually what you were trying to find was like, what can we do premium episodes about? Like what does the fan base consider to be like A tier? And Hat in Time was mentioned many times when I compiled that list for us to kind of like look over. Yeah. So, at the very least, I know that there is an audience being served by this.
Yeah. And then I'm, and I'm the outlier. Yeah. Like I'm the David Attenborough Petri jar person, and the same way, like the genres that I love that are archaic, that are coming back are super not for everyone either. Yeah. Right. Like I can sit there and be just like, oh my fucking God, like Divinity Original Sin 2 is amazing.
Yeah.
And I can say that until I'm blue in the face, but I just know a large contingent of my peers and friends and fans are not going to play it.
Right.
It's just like, well, I don't want to do something that fiddly, like the same way that I can, like I was telling Will about that. I was like, yeah, like you can distract somebody by talking to them. And then while you're doing that, you can make your other party members switch into tactically advantageous positions. And he's like, yeah, tactically advantageous positions makes me go to sleep. And I was like, no, that's what video games are about. Like that's the thing that's missing from role-playing games. Like, and that same way that like, to me, that is just reverse kryptonite.
That is reverse kryptonite to me.
Yeah, to me, that is this, I didn't even do it on purpose at that point. It's fully integrated in my personality. Is the same way that this kind of like double jump, mantling 3D platforming is just like, no, like this is what's missing from action games. Like this is this tone and this, I can imagine someone being exactly as passionate, and they're not wrong. They're just passions for different things. And there's probably something tying those two genres together that they inspire such passion, but are also such niches.
Yeah.
And if you're just, they're yesteryear games are being brought back and they're great for people who love them and miss them, but it's never going to be like something that is going to appeal to the widest possible curve of gen pop.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. I don't, not trying to poison any well or anything like that. I feel like I'm going to feel very similar to Psychonauts, except just like the writing more and the play worse.
Yeah.
Like I've played it so far and it doesn't play well. Like right in the beginning, there's no fun platforming in it. None of the action's good. But the writing and stuff will be fun to talk about.
Yeah. Like there's Lunkfishopolis roughly halfway through it. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Mailman Conspiracy. There's fun levels that you don't do anything fun in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be next week. So if you have things to say about A Hat in Time, you have anything to say about Psychonauts, or Mirror's Edge the 15th of this month. July is your deadline.
Yes. Our premium episode this month is going to be Mirror's Edge. When I sit down to play that, I will be covered in Dramamine patches like Krusty was covered in nicotine patches.
Yep. Yeah, or Vom.
Yeah.
Hey, happy Vom. Hey, happy Vom. So I've never played that before. I might even. Maybe I will be also puking.
Yeah.
So what if it just becomes like we can't play it because we puked, and then it just becomes a 2-hour episode, premium episode about the ER. Like this episode is a review of urgent care.
Yeah. I'm worried that I'll never be okay again after it. I'm worried that it will do something to my cerebrospinal fluid.
You think it's gonna like damage your inner ear?
Yeah, I think so.
Might. Don't take the game in your ear. Play it on a disc or on a don't
shit,
stick it in
that was my mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no ear suppositories for Mirror's Edge.
Yeah. Thank you, Francis, for requesting this game and for having us do this month.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even though it sounds like I am going to have criticism. I am going to have criticisms of this stuff, but it doesn't mean that I'm not glad we did it. Next month, after that, you can also write in if you have ideas or thoughts.
Yes.
On the games we're doing that.
Yeah. The games for that are A Way of the Samurai, Way of the Samurai 1 for PlayStation 2, if you're curious. Final Fantasy 5, we're doing 2 parts on that. And the premium episode for that month is going to be Wolfenstein, The New Order.
Yeah. It is worth a comment or a mention that we have the rest of the year pretty much planned out.
No.
If you're considering sponsoring an episode, definitely do not mean to discourage you. Just maybe get in touch.
Yeah.
Or just realize that we are going to probably start booking into 2020 soon.
Yes.
Which is great. We do have a couple of slots left this year for things. The rest of the year looks really exciting.
No.
I think it's going to be awesome. But just know that if you do decide to sponsor it, we're not going to be able to do the thing in September. September is spoken for, months are getting spoken for at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
So, and I don't we'll obviously honor our obligations. If we do a thing in January, don't want to, stop you from getting, staking that claim.
Yeah.
Just know that we're operating on that time scale now.
Yep. Understand that there will be more of a wait than maybe you expect.
Yep. If you want to do any of those things, the way to do that is to go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. And kick us a couple bucks. For $5, you get the premium episodes of this show, including all the back episodes, Unfilmable, our Lovecraft screen adaptation show, Bonfireside Chat, extra object sufferings. You get tons of stuff. And even more as you go up.
Yeah. We feel like there is plenty to like there if you like us. Yeah.
That's probably about it.
Think so.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. And until next time, what should people watch out for, Cole?
Watch out for anything more than the usual amount of emptiness.
Yes. Umbasa.